Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to GeekWatch, a subsidiary of the monastery, the open bar of the internet. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me I have one good brother, one good sister, and one who is currently indisposed.
He'll be back.
He will end up being the winner of the Doku Challenge when he comes back. But I believe this is her if not debut, then it's been a while since the last time she was on GeekWatch. One of the dynamic duo for the layout of FF Legend, and the person who can be baited out with mechs like the rest of us. Good sister
That's
Nami.
true.
And if you're imagining me putting a mech on an oversized fishing line and just sitting out there, well, you're not far off. Look, fishing is almost a religion around here. But on the other end, we have the man of 1,000 runes, the CEO of Zadari Enterprises, and the bane of my fucking existence, good brother Xanatrix.
Zadari Enterprises would like to remind you that our code names for our test pilots are not bird related. No, you will never be a raven or an owl. Instead, they're shark related.
So the question is, can one of them stride into a battlefield while playing fast as a shark by Accept?
I would be insulted if one of them didn't.
Fair. I mean, that was the spell that broke Dark Schneider out.
Deep cut, Monk. Most people don't understand that joke.
Then they need to watch more anime. But for this one, I had something else in mind at first, but I decided, you know what? I haven't pandered to myself all that often, so let's do that. And for this particular episode, the focus is going to be on the Ravens. And hold on one moment, because I needed to add the virtual audio so that there's actual music. Sorry about that, folks. It's one of those things that happens. Oh. Also get rid of that audio capture because I'm not using that. So hopefully you should be able to hear the music now. But since Armored Core 6 has largely settled in people's minds, even with some of the unfortunate arguments about certain regulations, which I think was always going to happen. I think it's as good a time as any to go through the series up to this point and do a bit of ranking. Now, for those of you who saw the episode where we talked about Heisei Kamen Rider, this setup is going to be somewhat familiar. We're just using the various games in the Armored Core series instead of, well, Kamen Rider. But one of the rules that is still going to be in play is all grades relative to their entries, to their generations, I should say. Because maybe it's just me, but I don't think it'd be fair to compare a game that came in the PS1 to one that came out in the PS2.
Yeah.
But obviously, we in various forms have had our particular love for Armored Core in different forms, and I thought this would be a fun little experiment to go with. So, I think the first one we've got is obviously the original Armored Core, coming in all the way back in 1997.
Well, I would like to point out that Raven as a as a term didn't start as a reference to just the main character or the character you play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That developed later, around I'd say AC4.
Yeah. But
maybe even AC Last Raven.
The reference to a Raven as a mercenary unit or an individual has been an enduring thing throughout a large amount of the franchise.
Yeah, Ravens were always a especially early on, they were a group.
Mm-hmm.
And they were a really good mercenary group too, like one of the best.
Mm-hmm.
I still have to say, fuck you, Hustler One.
Yeah. But when it comes to the original Armored Core, obviously there's some issues, especially in balancing, and if you are kind of hamstringing yourself if you're not playing on Human Plus.
Wait, people play on Human Plus? Casuals.
Well, the big reason I say that is due to Human Plus kind of dealing with the issue of back weapons.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, in order to get Human Plus, you've got to suck a lot. And there are some people who've done non-Human Plus runs as hardcore runs, but if I'm being honest, when it comes to the original Armored Core, I look at it as it's all right for 97, but there were definitely some balancing issues. Before we went live, we had talked about how the Kurosawa was busted in the original game, even if you had to go out and find it.
Yeah, it is extremely strong.
Mm-hmm. I have a feeling the argument could have been made at the time of, well, it's using your energy instead of ammo. Yeah, but it uses so little that doesn't even matter. That's why I compare it to, say, the Metal Blade in Mega Man 2.
Yeah, it uses a decent chunk of energy, but in exchange it hits so hard it's well worth it. It does more damage than pretty much every other laser option, and it's gonna out DPS pretty much like any other firearm, I think, in the first game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be honest. I never encountered Human Plus in the original Core.
Yeah.
You have to basically get a game over repeatedly, and
you have to get your credit count to negative 50,000.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I was very paranoid playing the original Armored Core. So I played lots of missions very conservatively and didn't lose a lot of credits and bought what I thought were the best upgrades for the time, and I never hit Human Plus.
Also, you can just like reload between saves, so that's like I think the natural thing you would kind of do. Just so it's easy to miss it, to be totally honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen plenty of people who have gone through the game many times and never got Human Plus, and only found out about it through like other YouTube playthroughs. But I'd say, since it is the first game and it kind of established the baseline for things to come, I'd say it goes into B.
You want to use it as a baseline for this generation?
Yeah.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah, that sounds fair.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I think it's middle of the pack for the first gen.
Now, Project Phantasma was an ambitious approach. It was Armored Core's first attempt to try and do a full-on story with multiple characters, since there wasn't really a story in the original. But the story didn't quite stick the landing, and the big final boss that they had with Stinger could be cheesed stupid easy.
Well, it's he's either like the hardest goddamn boss in the franchise, or you cheese him in like 3 seconds. It's one of the two.
Are we talking about 9-ball? What?
No,
like-
not 9-ball, Stinger.
Stinger, the laser spam.
Oh, him.
He just shoots lasers in every direction. It's ridiculous, and it's like it's so poorly designed because if you have the right setup, he just dies in like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And if you have the wrong setup, it is a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the voice acting. I know that game is like, is it 97 or 98? I'm not sure which.
Project
but,
Phantasma was 97.
Okay, it is the voice acting in that is horrendous.
Only if you're in English. Japanese,
is the
it's
Japanese
Sho
better?
Hayami who plays Stinger.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And if you don't know who Sho Hayami is, hold on. Let's see, like a lot of mecha. Sho Hayami has done a lot of mecha. But for people who might be more familiar with more modern stuff, he was Sosuke Aizen in Bleach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was also like Maximilian Genius in Macross. He has done a lot of stuff. Sho Hayami's been around for a while.
Yeah.
But he's got that deeper, more bastard genius voice.
Mm-hmm. But
We love Sho Hayami.
I don't think Project Phantasma is bad enough to be D, but it was an experiment, and the experiment didn't quite pan out when it came to doing that sort of linear story. So I'd put Project Phantasma as a C.
That was my exact thoughts too, because story aside, even the missions in Project Phantasma can be like downright infuriating or just like kind of awkward. I know there's one in the beginning that always pisses me off because it's like a jungle mission where you're supposed to ambush a target at the exact right time, but there's so many accidental fail states. It's kind of infuriating. Shit also soft locks kind of frequently. I've done it several times, and multiple times it is just like broken.
Yeah, Phantasma had some issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even talking about mission difficulty, because at that point I was just like, okay, FromSoft to being FromSoft.
Yeah.
I've played Kingsfield. I know what's going on.
I look at the issue as, consider this. The original Armored Core came out in Japan, July 10th, 1997. Project Phantasma came out December 4th, 1997.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
So this would... I think I recall one reviewer saying that Project Phantasma felt more like an expansion pack than a full sequel. And I can honestly see that if there's a turnaround time of 3 months.
Yeah.
But then we have Master of Arena, which came out in 99, and of the PS1 trilogy, I believe Master of Arena is the best.
I agree.
It's a pretty solid entry. They learned, they built on what they had established with the original Armored Core, and they learned from their mistakes on Phantasma.
Mm-hmm.
The big thing is that this is one where someone is actually... This is probably the first one where someone is not just referred to as a Raven, as in those mercenaries which work out of the Raven's Nest, and later other places after the destruction of the Raven's Nest. But he is referred to as the Raven in certain ways.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he's literally given the name Ninebreaker later.
Yeah. And even though Nine Ball is built up as this unstoppable mech, and the same thing with Hustler 1, I think by this point, people who have been playing the series know that that's not exactly the case. Especially that one mission in the tail end of the first game where there's way too many 9-balls.
Yeah, way too many 9-balls.
Mm-hmm.
Which 9-ball? All 9-ball. Oops, all 9 balls.
Mm-hmm. There's also the fact that Master of Arena was so big it needed 2 discs.
Yeah, the cover has like a sticker on it that says 2-disc game. Like they were really advertising that. There's a ton of content in there. I mean, between the arena, the campaign, it's a packed ass game.
Yeah, Master of Arena was super good too.
Mm-hmm.
It's also they did a lot of balancing for the first 2, like all the parts from the first 2 game, including nerfing some of the extremely OP weapons into being a bit more reasonable.
But not the Moonlight or the Kurosawa.
No, those
are never reasonable. Those aren't even
No.
reasonable all the way up in AC6. What are you talking about?
The Moonlight Blade has never been reasonable.
At least the Kurosawa in AC6 is like kind of a little more balanced out because it is the fucking heaviest, fattest, hardest weapon to use.
Kurosawa. Have you used the Coral version of the Kurosawa? The red one?
The Coral version.
There's a laser rifle. It's not called the Kurosawa, but it's basically a Kurosawa with Coral Ballard.
The KRSV or whatever.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that
thing's
that weapon,
fucking stupid.
It's amazing, and also it's hard to put on any mech because it just weighs a fuck ton.
Tank mech. Make yourself a tank tread.
Yeah. If you play a tank, I mean, honestly, like tanks are ridiculously good in like most of this franchise for PvE content because you end up with a shit ton of HP and every weapon you could possibly want.
Mm-hmm.
I still cheesed the shit out of boss fights in 6, but we'll get to that.
And Red Wizard says that second disc didn't have any story on it, though. It was stuff like extra arena and arena maker stuff, though, wasn't it? More or less, the reason I bring up the whole 2-disc thing was just the sheer amount of content that they were doing, which some of this may have been standard in 1999 for mech games on PC, but on console, this level of content wasn't exactly all that heard of. I mean, if you're going to be doing multi-disc games on the PlayStation in '99, you were probably an RPG with a lot of cutscenes and needed those extra discs.
No. Be more honest here, Monk. If you're a multi-disc game on the PlayStation 1 in the '90s, you're a Square Enix game. 99% of the time.
Yeah, most of the time.
They had some 1-disc games, but yeah. I'm not going to dispute that. So then we jump ahead a year and we get Armored Core 2 as I don't think it was a launch game for the PlayStation 2, but it was a very early game for the PlayStation 2.
AC2?
Mm-hmm.
Let me check. Its original launch date was August 3rd, 2000. And the launch date of the PlayStation 2 was March 4th, 2000. So you're right, it's not a launch title.
Yeah, it's not.
But it is an early release.
Mm-hmm. And
that's actually one of the first PS2 games I think I ever owned.
I also think that Armored Core 2 for a lot of people was their first entry because of the fact that it was an early adopter of the PS2.
I can see it, considering the PS2 still has the largest library in existence, if you count real games.
Yeah. I've definitely met a lot more people who Armored Core 2 is their first than say like Master of Arena or 1 or any of those.
It didn't help that the PS1, a good chunk of the early Armored Core games were brought stateside by Agatech, who has a unfortunate reputation of being cheapskates.
Yeah.
And being known for budget games that you could get for like $5. And yes, even my beloved Wild Arms has had to suffer the curse of Agatech in some form. but because of that reputation of a budget publisher, that kind of created some issues.
Yeah.
Now, as far as two goes, it was the first time that we ended up going to the Red Planet. For a lot of people,
now we've been to multiple red planets that aren't even near Earth.
Yeah, for a lot of the, I think this was the first. I'd say this was. Would you say that this was the first entry where you have the idea of constantly being referred to as Raven? I don't remember. It's been a while since Master of Arena, so I don't remember if it was brought up then.
Well, in Master of Arena, you weren't really referred to as a Raven. And then eventually you were referred to as the Nine Breaker.
Mm-hmm.
In AC2, I don't remember if he's referred to as Raven all the time.
I want to say AC2 is like a little bit of a reboot, and they start using the term Raven for mercenaries again, I believe.
Let
me
more
check.
or less was a reboot because the. Well, I can't exactly say because it's still part of the story continuity that started with the first game.
It's not a reboot, but it is. They are using Raven for a generic set of mercenaries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because the Ravens worked for the Nerves Concord after the Raven's Nest blew up, or I should say, after they blew up the Raven's Nest.
Oh right, yeah, okay, no, that checks out.
Yeah.
It's been a bit.
There's still multiple Ravens. They might have called you Raven more often in this one, but I don't think it was specifically the epithet for the player character yet.
Yeah, but
I mean, everybody who's a fan of Armored Core has been calling the main character that you play the Raven, but that's just because it makes it easier for people.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's kind of like a community title. It's sort of fun.
I treated it the same as, say, Mobius in the Ace Combat series. Even though that name hasn't been used as often.
Mm.
And well, in some cases you've got better ones, like say Zero in Ace Combat Zero, the Demon of the Round Table. But with a lot of the frameworks that would be used for the next few generations really started with this entry. It's kind of like how I've said that Dragon Quest doesn't really start until 3.
Yeah.
I
would agree. And also Armored Core 2 takes some of the like storytelling ideas that like Project Phantasma was throwing around and just does them substantially better.
Yeah.
And that's when the series starts doing that, I would say, more regularly.
Mm-hmm.
Armored Core 2 was like a huge step up in like basically most every way, aside from I want to say Master of Arena still probably had more parts and probably more content, but like they had 3 games to build that shit up, so
yeah, I would put 2 as an A.
Yeah,
I could see 2 as A. It's definitely a strong entry.
Mm-hmm.
But that also means that Another Age is probably going to be S. Because Another Age took everything Armored Core 2 did and just did it better. With small quality of life tweaks, such as you can tell if a target is behind cover when the lock-on indicator is green.
Yeah, like Another Age mechanically is substantially, well, I don't know what to say substantially. It is smoothed over in a lot of ways. The actual content for Armored Core 2 is just like it's just a lot of missions. It's just a lot of missions. It's like 100 or something.
Missions.
And
100
Red Wizard says, except the story part and the lack of arena.
Yeah. I like 2 more than Another Age for that reason, but gameplay wise, I think Another Age has a lot of improvements.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the big thing is that Another Age's story isn't meant to be very straightforward like Two's was, because this is basically cleanup from what happened in 2 5 years after the fact. And like the coolest part was, while there was no arena, many of the missions were AC on AC one-on-ones.
Yeah.
And so it was basically like having arenas. This is more to show how Raven's day-to-day, essentially, like the day in the life of the mercenary sort of thing.
Yeah.
I also really, really like Armored Core 2 Another Age for the fact that you get to fight Stinger and Nineball in a better system mechanically.
Yeah. That's fair. There's also Another Age has some of the most fun fights. Like, if I recall, Another Age has a 1v4 fight that is painful but extremely fun, to be honest.
Yeah. And then, of course, the best part about Armored Core 2 Another Age, you don't have to re-unlock all of your equipment from AC2.
Yeah.
It's all right there at the beginning.
Like,
and you can
honestly,
be like,
I don't know if I would have played Another Age as long as I did if I couldn't have just imported my save, because re-grinding all of that equipment would have driven me nuts.
Mm-hmm.
well, and you're supposed to feel like you're playing a bog standard merc wizard. It's only in the events of only in the events of history that your merc is suddenly a hero. Like I said, Another Age is meant to be a day in the life of the merc. You're supposed to feel like, hey, this is how being a mercenary normally works.
Yeah, and I think in a lot of ways Another Age is essentially it feels like a bit of an expansion, in that it's like, hey, did you like Armored Core 2? Here's a lot more of Armored Core 2.
Yeah, it's based. Of course, the lack of story and arena are likely again due to Agetech.
Yeah,
for sure. But the lack of story does not actually detract from this game.
Yeah.
Because, as Nami just stated, you like playing Armored Core 2? Here's more play Armored Core 2. Go play.
Yep. And yeah, I could see it being S. Now once again, I need to make clear that something being an S doesn't mean it's the best of the whole franchise.
It's the best in relation to its sequence.
Mm-hmm. Now that brings us to Armored Core 3, and if I'm being honest, I'm putting 3 in C. And the reason for that is 3 was trying to be experimental with certain concepts like jettisoning and option weapons, but it didn't give you a whole lot of opportunity or a whole lot of reason to actually use them.
Not to mention the fact that 3 undid some of the quality of life and mechanical changes from 2 that were really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
yeah, not to back.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was not to backpedal, but before we get too far, I'd also like to mention I think Armored Core 2 is the game that introduced Overboost, which ends up being a actually pretty fun mechanic in all of the PS2 games. So thank you, Armored Core 2.
Yeah,
Overboost is good.
Like more mobility will always be appreciated. But things like the option thing and the ability to jettison equipment was, in my opinion, far too situational. Like, when it came to the option stuff, I can't think of all that many people who actually use that equipment in 3.
I can think of everybody who uses Op Intensify once they have it.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, that's that, but
it's the human plus of the game.
Yeah. But when it comes to that whole option weapon, which felt like it was trying to be the equivalent of options in a Gradius-like, In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they were cribbing notes from Gradius or R-Type with that concept. The problem is it just didn't it didn't feel like anything more than a gimmick.
And it really was just a gimmick.
Yeah, it was. I don't think it ever was necessarily super useful. Like, and it's not a horrible concept. It's just that, yeah, like you were saying, in 3, it's maybe not utilized to the best. And
when it comes to Jettison, I think the only reason I can think of that you'd want to do that is if you are trying to get rid of weight when you're out of ammo. But but again, situational.
Yep.
Good afternoon, all.
Hey there, Rihanna.
Hello.
Hello.
So, right after that was Silent Line. And, I think Silent Line was an improvement on 3. I also think that Silent Line was not made by people who are making games to be played by humans, because Silent Line, even by AC standards, was a bit on the hard side.
It is actually, yeah. Yeah, Silent Line is kind of rough. Like they're sort of, you know, it's funny I'm saying this because Gen 3 has a much harder game. But anyways, it's pretty rough.
Laughs in last, Raven.
We'll get to that.
Silent Line. I think what Silent Line did was actually really good thematically.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because in 3 you have the controller and all of that fun shit. And now after you've been liberated from the controller, you're investigating a new threat. The Silent Line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really love what they do with the storyline from 3 to Silent Line. Like, it actually had me interested, which not all these games manage to do, to be honest. Some of the plots in these games are a little, you know...
Yeah. What's really funny is the controller is a terrible name that only the English version got.
What is
because the controller's name in Japanese is Dove. Bird names.
We see the real challenge of Armored Core 3 is beating your controller, because fucking tank controls.
Oh, don't we love tank controls? Aren't they the greatest?
They're just wonderful. I mean, I eventually got to the point where I was so used to it, like it didn't faze me anymore. But like, man,
I treat tank controls the way I treat Vancian magic. I will never like it. At most, I will tolerate it. The way you tolerate that one relative at Thanksgiving every year.
It's just teaching yourself to continue hold forward while you're turning so that you still strafe, rather than, oh, I need to pull left while turning right, and then all of a sudden your Armored Core is doing super circles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like in survival horror kind of games where it's like slow, it doesn't really matter. It's just in Armored Core, you also have to strafe at the same time, and oh boy.
Yeah, strafe combat, circle strafing is a big damn deal. And I look at this. I look at the people who romanticize tank controls with the same amount of mockery and disgust that I give to people who insist that you should be playing Doom or Wolfenstein keyboard only. Especially the people who try to tell me with a straight face that Wolfenstein 3D was meant to be keyboard only. No, it wasn't.
Yeah, that's just, I believe, wrong. I have a weird take on tank controls, at least for Armored Core, which is I actually kind of like them. I think I got Stockholm Syndrome into enjoying it. That being said, I would never ask for them to be put back in because holy shit. Like, we're not doing that. We're not.
Well, as AC combat gets faster and faster, tank controls start making less and less sense.
Yeah.
I mean, fast and faster combat. We'll talk about that in another generation now, won't we?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we will.
We will talk about the best Armored Core until 6 came out.
Yeah. But when it comes... When
I know
it comes...
I know that's a wild nuclear
with a
take,
DDR
but everybody...
pad, didn't he really beat the game?
Riona, if you didn't beat Wolfenstein with a DDR pad, you didn't really beat the game.
I bet.
I know somebody who beat Dark Souls with a controller made of bananas.
Mm-hmm.
I love that that's just become a thing now, is like people trying to beat like Dark Souls or whatever other hard game with like some ridiculous controller.
My favorite ones are always with Guitar Hero and Rock Band controllers.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing somebody doing like matches of Rainbow Six Siege with like a Guitar Hero controller, and it's funny.
I do know that there's been videos of people playing like Star Citizen or Elite Dangerous with that Steel Battalion controller.
Oh boy.
I love the Steel Battalion controller. I wish it didn't cost so much fucking money.
I know, right?
But so have we placed Silent Line then?
Yeah, I'm thinking of putting. I would really like to put it as an A, but
No, it's a B.
because of the difficulty spiking, I have to put it at B.
It's definitely a B. It's definitely the baseline for this series of games.
Look,
If
you're reminding me of the original Descent in terms of your difficulty spiking, that's not a compliment. As much as I love Descent as a game, also to the devs I say, fuck you. It's good lord, that game can be unfair.
Also, Silent Line's final boss, the Ibis, is just honestly so goddamn sick. Its
I know,
design
they
is
brought
great.
her back for their AC6.
Yeah. I like when I saw that in AC6, I'm like, you motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And that's why I also said that the controller being named Dove makes a lot more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dove, Ibis, two different birds controlling two different parts of the layered.
Yeah, like Silent Line's final boss fight is actually one of my favorites. It's just really cool. It's pretty challenging still. For some people, I'm sure it's just like, honestly, I'm sure some people just got like stuck on that, but
just like some people got stuck on Ibis and AC6.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So then we have what is probably the most controversial entry of this generation.
Hello, Nexus.
Oh yeah, fuck Nexus.
And
I'm mixed on it.
I understand what Nexus was trying to do. It was trying to be this middle ground between elements of past entries. But if I'm being honest, I really, really want to put Nexus as a D, but it does do a few things right, so I think I gotta put it at C.
Yeah, it gets C at least for having Shining as the intro, because, I mean, it's really good. It's really good. That song is just a banger.
I mean, so some of the... I'm just going to read some of the changes from Silent Line to Nexus here. Op Intensify was removed. This also means that it removed the enhancements such as mobile cannon fire while using bipedal reverse joint and hover legs. However, the blade beam was kept. Clone weaponry and the weapon breaking in Silent Line is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Many parts have been removed. There are no longer inside rocket types or howitzer weapons. This is also where the heat management system really first comes into play.
And I fucking hated heat management.
So the thing is, some of the other games have heat management, if I remember correctly, but Nexus makes it a huge deal to the point where like there are certain weapon types that are just substantially more powerful than they should be because they generate so much heat when they hit. I'm looking at you, micro missiles. Any of those like missile types can just debilitate ACs. It's kind of cheesy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then it also introduced the idea of hanger cores, where you drop your primary and get something out of a little core.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, they made overboost worse by also making boost generate heat.
Yeah, it's like unusable in Nexus because you tap it and like in like 1 or 2 seconds you're like, oh, I'm already getting way too hot. And like it's kind of a numbers issue because I mean we'll get to it, but like Last Raven kind of solves this without gutting it entirely.
Okay.
And this one also had 2 discs, Evolution and Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
Evolution did have an arena, you just had to beat the game. Revolution was fighting things from the PlayStation 1 era games mostly. And it gave you new AC parts, including custom parts based on Phantasma. And then there's the part where they kind of fucked up in the American version. The last mission of Nexus, where you face the enemy that seems like Nine Ball, but isn't actually Nine Ball. In Japanese, it's just question marks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a particular weird detail because I'm not necessarily sure why they changed its name for the Japanese. I don't know if it was like supposed to be a Nine Ball just like reference, or if they were like they just took it upon themselves to give it the name.
It's very much in Japanese. He's very much an homage to Nine Ball, but he is not Nine Ball. And then the translators changed it to Nine Ball just because of the similarities. Likely, we don't actually know, but I mean, think about it. This guy uses the grenade launcher and the missiles, the energy pulse gun, and he has the red armor. So
random interesting fact, just like looking on the wiki, and his page actually has a concept art piece from a Korea exclusive art book for Nexus, which labels him as Guardian, air quotes, Nine Ball. I don't really know what that's about, but I really kind of want to know the answer behind the whole Nine Ball thing. I don't think it's out there, but I would love to know.
I think what they wanted to do was reference him, and then everybody else just took it as, oh, that's just Nine Ball.
Probably, yeah.
Which, not a huge leap.
Mm-hmm.
Nexus,
I put it at C.
No, I want to put it at D just because it gave overboost heat generation.
Yeah, I'm fine with.
I'm sorry. You gave the best fucking shit the worst fucking mechanic. No. Yeah, I'm glad they got rid of that in later games.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Nexus's difficulty is extremely
swingy.
Yeah, swingy, because there's some missions where they're like it's like a breeze. You just walk through the park, and there are other missions that are just randomly in there that are absurdly difficult in comparison to missions at the same point in the game, or you like have to use cheese strats to get through them pretty much. It's an odd one. It's an odd mix.
Yep. So the next entry is
Formula Front.
Is Formula Front, which is technically in the PS2 generation, but it was originally released for the PSP.
Yes. It was released on the PS2 literally 3 months later, though.
Yeah, and I feel like Formula Front and Ninebreaker are kind of the redhead. I I don't almost want to say redheaded stepchild because they're the ones that get talked about the least. Some people legit forget that Formula Front and Ninebreaker are even a thing.
I would like to point out that Formula Front, you are not a Raven. You are an architect making a new Armored Core group, team of sorts.
Mm-hmm. I think this was an attempt to try and put something Armored Core like on the PSP.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if I recall, isn't like the original, you just build, like the original release, I think is like you just build the Armored Cores and then the AI pilots them, and then I think like for different versions they re-release, they actually added controls or something weird like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very strange.
I don't think Formula Front is bad enough to be a D, but because of it being just a weird entry with a very congested UI, because you know trying to do the stuff that you do with Armored Core on the small handheld screen was going to create some issues. I think it's a C.
Yeah, it is a C, just because it's weird.
And I will note the PS2 version might be considered a B, but only barely.
Well, the PS2. Okay, so you've got the normal PSP version, then you've got the PS2 version, and then you've got the international version, which was another PSP release that combined the previous two. That would be a B. Because it has all the extra stuff and from the other things.
Mm-hmm. So if someone's insistent on getting Formula Front, get the international version. But then we have the other one that is almost equally a redheaded stepchild, and that is Ninebreaker.
Ninebreaker was basically just, here's an arena only game. Go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, I don't really remember how the balancing is in Ninebreaker either. Like the gameplay was, I'm gonna be honest, I kind of forgot it. Like you mentioned that some people just forget it exists, and I'm like, I did too, to be honest. It's strange because it's almost like, I wouldn't say it's boring or it's even bad, but it's just kind of it's there. It's more Armored Core, I guess.
Well, this one's a little more just straight up. You want to play Armored Core? Here's more Armored Core. It's like another Age, except even boiled down to almost being.
If
nothing.
Armored Core was a PC game, this would be an expansion pack, not a full release.
Yeah. It was fun because it was more Armored Core, and that's kind of it. It's not like there's nothing notable that made me like, oh, they added these new mechanics and like there's an interesting. Nope, it's just more Armored Core.
In fact, here's the best way to describe it, Monk. Armored Core arcade mode.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, because they had a training mode where you got good at being an Armored Core pilot. They had trial modes like the license tests in the original Gran Turismo, which is very much an arcade racer.
Syndicate.
I know. Still, the point stands.
Yeah.
And then they had, go fight in the arena. The more better you do in the arena, the more parts you get. There's no credits. You can tune parts without it costing anything because there's no credits. And heat management was sort of rebalanced. Like some people felt, oh yeah, now heat's manageable. And then people like me who like their boost were like, this is still bullshit. Fuck you.
Mm-hmm. Heat management was better in Ninebreaker, but it still had a ways to go.
Yep. One really good thing from Ninebreaker though was at least the mecha felt smoother and faster. They weren't that sluggish, halting feeling you got in Nexus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what's an interesting thing about Armored Core installments? Basically, I feel like pretty much well, not every, but most of the time when they release a game, the game that follows it, like Another Age or even Silent Line or like Armored Core 4 to 4 Answer, gets faster. Um, they always start slow and then they speed up for some reason.
And then 5 drops the speed again.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
But we'll get there.
I think some people have this romanticization of Max needing to be tanks with legs, but the thing is, in something like BattleTech, you can kind of get away with that because they're meant to be tanks in some form or another.
Yeah.
But with something like Armored Core, where the big thing is customization and weight management, and there's always been an emphasis on mobility, you should not ever not be moving. That particular romanticization of heavy doesn't have as much of a place.
I mean, I would like to point out that even tank tread robots in most armored cores are fast as fuck, boy!
I would say they're
Yeah,
still
they're
faster
kind of fast,
than
yeah.
I think the only thing that might outpace them in say BattleTech by comparison are the really small scout mechs, like say the
the
fleet.
lights.
Yeah, but
tanks
that's
can
only the tank mechs.
Mhm.
If you change to any other leg type, all of BattleTech is too slow.
Yeah, I think like some of the games, I'm not sure if it's like they wanted to slow it down to make the gameplay more deliberate, or like what the reason is. But yeah, I remember Ninebreaker was a bit faster than
No, Ninebreaker
like,
was a
3.
lot faster than Nexus, for
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah.
Ninebreaker, I would say, is a B.
Yeah.
I would put it in B. It was a solid entry. Sure, there was no story, but you got tons of armored core. If all you wanted to do was customize and fight, that game was perfect for it.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's very specific on what you want out of it. Like if you wanted a new entry with like to continue the story, not there, but
You did not get that.
yeah, but if you were like, I just want to play more of this fucking game, you're like,
Yeah, I
it's
just
like
want to play more armored core, guys. I just want to make more
Stop.
mechs and fight shit. God damn it! Here's
Yeah.
Ninebreaker.
Stop anytime I want.
And I would say
I'm not addicted.
I don't have a problem. You have a problem. But next we have
Yeah,
Last
your
Raven.
problem is I don't have enough armored core. So yes, Last Raven. I'm already going to say I don't care how much people are going to bitch about this being the hardest in the series in this particular generational series, because it was. It's also the fucking best. Eat my
It's
shit.
amazing.
It's amazing.
We put it in S tier. Do we have an S tier?
We do have an S tier. I say it goes in S tier because
Yeah.
like. Sure, the game was balls to the wall hard.
It is, yeah.
So much so that there are times where you're looking at your controller, looking at the game and going, can I do that with this many fingers or do I need more?
Mhm.
Well, yeah, and there's times where you're just like, you expect me to do what now? Uh-huh.
And then it eventually clicks and you're like, oh, okay. Let's just tweak my core here a bit, make it a little more tailored to this mission and go!
Mhm.
But, Last Raven, though, is actually probably the first game where your Raven is the Raven. Like, this is where it's really cemented. Because, first of all, depending on what missions you take and how you challenge things, the ending changes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and no matter what ending you're in, though, you are referred to as the Last Raven. So absolutely, this is where Ravens being a general name for these mercenary groups to Raven being the person. This is where it really starts being cemented.
What I think is kind of neat is the start of Armored Core Last Raven. There are other Ravens, but by the end of the game, many of them are either just dead or, well, actually, I think most of them are all pretty much dead.
Yeah, because depending on what sides you choose, if you choose any, you kill some of them.
Yeah,
And then some of them kill your
quite a few of
friends.
them.
I mean, if you remain independent, you kill all of them.
I think it has possibly one of the, like, debating the writing, or like the writing aside, the campaign for Last Raven is amazing because of the branching paths, the fact that the narrative does actually have it's got a bit of meat to it, and the missions are just so much more like well thought out. I feel even if they are ball busting, they are substantially more thought out than say like Nexus or even Silent Line.
That and a lot of the problems that you started to see with Nexus, by the time we get to Last Raven, they've been more or less smoothed out.
Not to mention the fact that there's one other reason this game is balls to the wall hard. You don't get your hand holding. There's no human plus. There's no op intensify. The only thing that's kept is the fact that everything got blade beams since Nexus.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's really fun, if I'm being honest, is Last Raven can import data. Last Raven could import ACs and parts from Nexus and Ninebreaker, and then the portable version could do it from AC3 Portable and Silent Line Portable.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of shit that you can pull over into Last Raven to at least make your game a little more enjoyable. But if you really want that Last Raven experience, go in without it, cowards.
It's it's a real challenge. Interestingly, I think one of the first missions that you can possibly take involves you in like a 1v1 with another AC, and if you are not ready for that, you will be on that for hours. You will be there all goddamn day.
You will die, and you will enjoy it.
You don't have to do that mission either, but a lot of people end up trying to do it and then just bash their head against it for, several hours until they realize they can pick a different mission.
Wizard, you can think that Last Raven is horrible all you'd like. This is the US, it's a free country, and you're free to be wrong.
Yeah, I actually do know some people who really don't like Last Raven, for various reasons.
I can understand why some people would not like Last Raven. Like, if you don't have the games to import your stuff from, starting over from zero in Last Raven can feel Sisyphean. You're rolling that boulder uphill and it keeps coming back down on you.
Oh yeah,
I would counter with there's always been a Sisyphean element to Armored Core just in its gameplay loop.
Yes, it's just.
And I would also counter with what is now the battle cry of all FromSoft fans: get good.
Mm-hmm. So, speaking of that phrase, then we move into the PS3 era.
We move into the best game until 6.
And we start with Armored Core 4.
Yes!
Which introduced a couple things. One, you have a very aquatic setup. There's a whole lot more bodies of water in a lot of the missions in AC4 compared to predecessors. The
whole game is on crack.
You have you start with a significantly simplified interface compared to its predecessor. And this is also where the idea of the quick boost was introduced, which I know a lot of people really, really fucking hated the quick boost early on, and then as time went on, they magically pretended that they didn't.
Yeah,
I'm one of those people who I forget the name of the technique, but it's the one where you boost in oblique angles to go so super fast it's like the mission's going past you.
Mm-hmm.
Slide boosting, I think it was called.
Yeah. And it's what I take the issue that people had with quick boosting as a case of grognardism, for lack of a better term. If only because it seems that the issue. I know this might sound strange considering my takes when it comes to the use of, when it came to the use of sprint in like Halo Reach, but it has more to do with the fact that maneuverability and free flow maneuverability, because you're going to be over water so often, was going to be a bigger deal. and I'd say utilizing quick boost as a way to have an easy dodge was more to reflect the kind of gameplay that it was trying to go for.
Well, and it was a new generation. They were trying something different with 4. I think they were, because like in the previous games, like I said, they got faster, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, like people always seem to respond pretty positively whenever they sped these games up. It seems, and so you'd sort of expect people to be like, "Oh, this is even faster than the previous." However, there was a lot of people that went the opposite direction and were like, "Oh, the game is too fast. I want it to be slower. I want it to be clunkier. I want
That's
it to be just
because
like
they're
Last Raven
grognards.
2."
Yeah.
That is legitimately a grognardism.
Yeah, like it was doing something different. And I know it did not hit with a lot of people.
And if I'm being honest, when it comes to that kind of crowd, you're never going to satisfy them anyways, so don't even
Yeah.
try.
I'm gonna bring them up when we get to Armored Core 6, trust me.
Grognards filtered by a helicopter.
Mm-hmm. But I would put AC4 had a lot of good elements for the direction it was going, but it definitely could use some refinement. So I think I would be perfectly fine with putting it in A.
A.
And this brings us to 4 answer.
Answer.
S.
Yes.
I am not arguing.
Yes.
I am not having any argument on
Or
this. It is S.
answer.
I'd like to
Oh
say-
my god.
I was up until 6 a.m. building the white glint model kit, so I was pretty excited to get
You
this one.
bitch.
It's he's still missing his hands, but I'm getting there.
You bitch.
But
I couldn't get that model kit.
It
When it
was
Sold out
insane.
way too quick.
yeah, 4 answer is I am speed.
Okay, so there was something in 4 that in 4 answer feels even better, and I never hear anybody mentioned it.
Mhm.
That is the down boost. That allowed you to just down boost out of midair while you were doing your little flying things and overboost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In 4 answer, it feels even better to do that shit to dodge stuff. Just like, whoop! Now I'm down. By the way, you're dead.
There's a part of me that wonders if FromSoft had looked at the mobility that was in Zone of the Enders back on the PS2 and said, let's try and see if we can do something at that level of mobility.
Yeah, I could see that, especially because not only is the game like just faster, like movement speed, boosting speed, but like your energy by the end of 4 answer is like the regeneration substantially better. You can boost around pretty much constantly. Like you were just strafing nonstop with the quick boost in 4 answer, where in 4 you had to like manage it a bit more. They just said, fuck it. We don't care. Just dodge around all you want.
In 4, the original, you had to not only manage your quick boost energy, but also you had to determine which stage of quick boost you wanted to use, whether you're going to be holding that button so you could get quick boost 3 or whether you're going to be tapping it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We of course also we also have the whole concept of multiple endings. This was the coming out party for Miyazaki, and some of the stuff that would become common in Souls-likes kind of has its debut with 4 answer.
Yeah. I'd also like to ask Wizard, you bought 4 and returned it the same day. What disappointed you? That's what I want to know.
I would be curious. I do, because I could kind of see it, because like I have some complaints about 4. I'll be completely honest. Like if we were ranking this not by like generation, I don't think it's my favorite game. But if you have an answer about like what you didn't like about it, I'd be curious.
I would too. But yeah, 4 answer itself is, for the longest time, was my perfect Armored Core game. It was just yeah, this is good. I had it on, and I was just happy to have it.
Yeah. I think what's also interesting when it came to the endings, and this is why I say that you kind of have a prototype of certain thematic elements that you see in the Souls games, is none of the endings in For Answer could be considered a good ending. One of them
Yeah.
is an absolute horrifying ending.
Yeah, but it's great. It's good time.
The endings are great.
Yeah.
I love the endings. They're just I mean,
What's a little genocide?
yeah, what's a little genocide between friends? You're right.
Yeah. It's my fun. I'll do anything for him.
Yeah.
No, For Answer was just until we got 6. I was looking for my crack mecha fix, and my crack mecha fix is always second runner and For Answer.
Mm-hmm.
That's very fair, honestly.
Yeah. Because, and I've said this before, For Answer had the closest that we get to For Answer and Second Runner come the closest to replicating the kind of mech battles that we see in a lot of mech anime. You know, where it is very much a high mobility dance. And that's something that's, even with modern tech, is going to be tricky to do with video games. Not impossible, but certainly tricky.
So Wizard, you realize that there were 3 different control schemes you could use in 4. There was simple, regular A, and regular B. You could have played around with any of the control schemes to see which one suited you. Especially considering that regular B is basically Nexus's type A.
So
You could also change stuff on those layouts.
So then we have a case of what I will call overcorrection with Armored Core 5. And if I'm gonna be honest, I'm putting 5 in D. And
I can see it.
the biggest reason for that was an over-reliance on scanning mode. Like, a lot of the targeting mechanics that have been standard up to that point were sequestered into this scanning mode that felt like their version of detective vision in the Arkham games. And, well, the big problem that happened with detective vision in Arkham Asylum was it was too useful, so you're having it on all the damn time. And you kind of have a similar problem with AC5. There's also the fact that the 5, I would say, is probably the slowest Armored Core since the PS1 era.
Yeah, because I'm gonna be honest. I think PlayStation 1 era, like Armored Core 1, gets faster than Armored Core 5. I've been playing 5 recently, and it's slow.
Winning the Doku challenge is Brother Jay.
Yeah, sorry,
Hey, welcome back.
the neighborhood had a power outage.
That
I was about to
sucks.
say you went out to the bathroom. That must have been the longest shit in the universe.
Oh, absolutely.
I was a little concerned. Yeah, like
I fell in.
Did you try and do the $20 Taco Bell challenge or something?
I lost. I did not win the challenge.
Nobody wins the challenge. That's
Never.
Yeah, yes, Wizard. There was just one where you could assign buttons to controls. So saying that you couldn't play with the controls in 4 is a non-issue. You could have customized the controls so that you could use them.
True.
yeah. If you're ever curious, I mean, for one, obviously we said 4 answer. We all kind of like more, so you could always just try 4 answer, and then
4
and
answer's
then two,
super
you
good.
could- Yeah,
Mhm.
you could always
It is.
give it a whirl and see if perhaps like customizing the controls a little bit might make it more your taste.
yeah.
Yeah. But now, like we're on Armored Core 5, and Armored Core 5 is a D. Is that what you're saying, Monk?
Yes. Most of
Okay.
it has to do with the speed. I wasn't a fan of how confined the menu UI felt, and there was the fact that I got really sick of hearing scanning mode every few seconds.
Yeah, seriously.
Understandable.
If you
I'm probably being too nice. I would have given it a C.
Yeah, I'm being too nice. I was thinking C, but yeah, because I've got a lot of problems with it, but it is interesting. They were trying some stuff. The weapons are kind of they departed a little bit from the other games, adding more like features to them. The fact there's actually scoped weapons is new.
I saw where they were going with this, where they were trying to make a more tactical Armored Core. There's a problem with that. Even though Armored Core, the original, and all the PlayStation 1 games were a little more about how you could position yourself behind buildings and stuff before popping out to take your own pot shots.
Yeah.
That was really all the tactics you had. Whereas this one's way more about not just those types of tactics, but choosing the right weapon type and stuff, because they had the kinetic, chemical, thermal energy stuff.
Yeah, which...
I've heard from a lot of people that where 5 actually shines is in the PvP, which is very strange, but I can also see it because the campaign feels like it was slapped together, which is another reason I don't really love 5 so far, is there's like 8 or 10 actual missions, and they don't really do a lot for me, and then there's like just a swath of missions that are here's a map you've seen 20 times and a handful of enemies in it, kill them all, or like a 1v1 in a small environment. It's not great.
I will also say that the whole ultimate weapons thing, or overt weapons as it was called in Japan, is another one of those things that seems like a really cool idea, but there isn't much practical use for it.
I did like the Moonlight Greatsword in that game though.
It's pretty cool, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I also like the squad stuff in general. I thought it was kind of cool. I thought people were really creative with their logos.
Yeah, those are always nice. I have a feeling more attention was put on the multiplayer, because keep in mind 7th generation, so everybody was trying to do some sort of multiplayer COD-like shit going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the explanation I've heard from pretty much everybody with 5 and Verdict Day, was they were trying to put a little more emphasis on the multiplayer for one reason or another. And so the single player content kind of suffers, but a lot of people swear by the PvP being amazing. I unfortunately didn't really get to experience it, so I don't know.
And I will note one other thing: scoring, or rather the audio suite for 5 felt a bit kind of drab, I guess.
Lacking.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'd also like to...
Aside from like the vocal songs, I couldn't tell you any other music in that game.
Well, that and you have whole missions where there's no music, period, which I know...
Yeah. Okay, so that wasn't me just misremembering. They actually didn't have any music in some levels.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And I'd also like to point out that in Armored Core 5 and Verdict Day, technically the mercenaries were not referred to as Ravens. But in Verdict Day, when looking back at the events of Armored Core 5, Magnolia Curtis refers to the main character of 5 as the Dark Raven.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, that doesn't make any fucking sense!
Nope.
They just had to throw it in there. They were like,
they absolutely did.
But if they had referred to it as the White Raven, that would make a little bit more sense as kind of an inside reference, since white is the color of death in Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
White Glint.
Yeah.
We like White Glint. He's fantastic.
We love White Glint.
But then we have Verdict Day. I think Verdict Day was better than 5, but by that point the damage was done. I'm putting it as a C. The big thing that there's a couple standout things that I liked with Verdict Day. One of them was at the end fighting a Next. So seeing the shoe on the other foot and just hammering home how ridiculously overpowered the Next were.
True.
And 2, the customizable MTs, essentially,
Yeah.
where you could customize not only their loadout but also the way that their AI worked.
Yeah.
I thought that was a cool addition. But like I said, 5 being such a departure from the natural
And-
progression.
And slowing the games. The one thing that made me just want to give up on Armored Core 5 and Verdict Day, they were so fucking slow.
And there wasn't really it wasn't like the slowness was enhanced the gameplay. If anything, I think the reason why the slowness really hit so hard is because of the ridiculous size of the maps, because they were meant to be multiplayer maps. So you've got you look at the map design in most Armored Cores, and yeah, the maps are fairly large, but with a lot of the missions in 5, they were large with not enough reason for it. They felt very sprawling. Like I guess if I was to use a parallel, would be the maps in Call of Duty Ghost.
I could see it.
Which, for those who haven't played enough COD during that era, Ghost is the black sheep of the better years of COD, and
I stopped
has to do with
playing
the maps.
I stopped playing at Black Ops 1.
Oh,
Same here, honestly.
Black Ops 2 is I think both of you would actually enjoy that one, because that's
I probably would.
Black Ops 2 is considered the peak.
Oh, okay.
I really enjoyed Modern Warfare, and I really enjoyed Modern Warfare 2, and then I did not like Black Ops, so I just stopped playing.
No love for World at War?
No, I didn't touch World at War.
And yet you touched its sequel.
I did, yeah.
But like I said, the damage was done. So whatever. So while Verdict Day did all right, the problem was it was too late by that point to
Give me sprawling wars with multiple combatants at next speeds. That's what I want.
And if I'm being honest, the big problem was just overcorrection because of the grogs who didn't like speed. It's like, if you don't like speed, why the fuck are you playing Armored Core? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, but Armored Core was originally slower. Yes, but it's been speeding up as times have gone on.
I look at the slower and early generations as more of a product of hardware limitations.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you look at the way AC fights work in like the cutscenes, it is still very quick.
Yes.
And
yes,
truth be told, that kind of slow tank-like approach is more of a Western mecha thing than a Japanese mecha thing.
it's a BattleTech / Mech Warrior thing for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll
There are
also
plenty of
say
Mech Warrior
that.
games that I love.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I actually do like slow mecha games. It's just as far as Armored Core is concerned, it's a little weird.
What was that game on the Xbox that had like
Steel
a huge...
Battalion.
Yeah.
We mentioned it earlier.
Mhm.
My friend
The
Booster has that.
$200 controller.
My friend Booster has it. I got when I went to visit him, we got drunk and set it up, and it was really fun.
awesome.
I had the game too and the controller. I no longer have either of those things
Oh, dude,
because
that sucks.
stuff happens.
Yeah.
No, so now I'd like to tell people a tale. A tale of a decade of no Armored Core. Because
Sometimes.
Verdict Day came out in 2013, and all went silent as Miyazaki and FromSoft seemed to be focused primarily on Soulsborne games, with a few experimentals here and there, such as the fantastic Sekiro.
Mhm.
Much like those of us who held the torch for Devil May Cry 5, and were proven correct, those of us who held the torch for another Armored Core were seen as clowns. We were seen as, you're never going to get another Game Boy. Your last game fucked everything up. Verdict Day really did fuck everything up.
5 fucked everything up. Verdict Day tried to fix it, but it was too late.
Yeah.
And then
And as
2019 happened.
and we get a nice little glimpse of a thing. And then
Called-
2023. What do we get?
We get
We get
Fires
the
of
best-
Rubicon.
Are we
get
just
the
gonna?
best fucking Armored Core game ever.
Are we gonna skip over Daemon X Machina?
Daemon X Machina doesn't count here.
Oh, okay.
We're-
I wasn't
because
sure if it did.
Daemon X Machina is not a FromSoft Armored Core. Yes, there were some Armored Core mecha designers on the team for Daemon X Machina, and some people who had worked on earlier Armored Core games, but it was not an Armored Core game. It was a nice fix for people who needed mecha games.
And I
it had
did.
I trust me. I played the shit out of Daemon X Machina, and I'm looking forward. I am looking forward to the sequel.
Yeah, but
Oh,
Daemon
the
X
sequel?
Machina is a different energy.
True.
Yeah. But Daemon X Machina, if we want to mention Daemon X Machina in this history, Daemon X Machina seemed to the naysayers, the people who said we're never getting an Armored Core game, as the final nail in the coffin. They're like,
Oh.
see, people left FromSoft to design a game that's kind of like Armored Core. You're never getting another one.
Because if there's one thing we've learned over the years is that it's very trendy to have a defeatist mindset, especially saying those things one-handed, if you know what I mean, and I think you do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But we get the announcement. The announcement that came out of fucking nowhere
Hmm.
from FromSoft about Fires of Rubicon. Which, as we've mentioned before, having two AC6s with Fires of in their name, kind of confusing for some people.
Yeah,
But Fires of Rubicon comes out. Those of us who are playing it day of are we see how they've taken the Armored Core DNA and infused what they've learned from making character action games to making a tight, quick, maneuverable, pulse pounding type of Armored Core.
Mhm.
And trust me, oh my god, the salt from everybody playing the first mission and getting fucking filtered. I drank those tears as sustaining life water for ages. Because, guys, that helicopter's super easy.
It's
Just
Yeah,
boost
it's
at
not
it and
that hard.
slash it.
yeah. You gotta be ready.
You just gotta go at it.
You're gonna learn.
I think
You're
I,
gonna
see a lot of
learn.
people-
I think
I
I
see
have
a lot of people
nickname
get
for people who
filtered.
couldn't get through the helicopter.
Huh.
Deans.
That is a reference to Dean Takahashi, who couldn't make it through the Cuphead tutorial because he didn't understand you could jump and dash at the same time.
Oh my
That was
god.
very sad.
A
Yeah, I've
fucking
seen a lot of people
parrot
get
could make it
filtered.
through that.
A fucking parrot did make it through that.
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
A parrot made it through the Cuphead tutorial, just like a goldfish beat Elden Ring's Shadow of the Earth Tree DLC.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty
Mhm.
funny.
A goldfish beat Shadow of the Earth Tree. Let me just say that again for everybody who may not have heard me.
Something that would keep forgetting it's in a boss fight defeated the boss.
By
Yes,
like
killed-
basically just swimming around, pure RNG, like button mashing its way to victory.
It once drank 4 S's flasks at once, and he was like, "Okay, well, let's keep going, and beat promised consort Radon with Mikola. I was like,
Which-
goldfish beat
Those
boss.
kind of stories I will always throw at people who try and use disability as an excuse for in that whole easy mode debate.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
And
So-
The fact that the stupid thing can just leave the battleground anytime it wants and you can't pursue it. I agree. That part is kind of annoying.
that's standard
That's not
fare for
ge-
so many different bosses over so many different games that I wouldn't even know where to start.
It only leaves the battleground every so often, though. Like, it usually hangs out in one of the corners, so you just boost up to it, slash it with your sword, and build up the let's call it what it is, stagger mechanic, as much as possible. And once it's staggered, you just do that more. You literally didn't have to shoot it, ever. And so long as you stayed right under it, its little missile spam from the 2 cannons on its bottom couldn't even target you. It was super easy.
There is a funny note about the whole it running out of the arena thing, because it's a little RNG dependent. I have seen that boss literally just sit outside the arena, and I'm assuming it was a bug, but it would not come back in other than for like a second or two, which does make it extremely difficult to fight, because plinking at it is not how you win against that thing.
Yeah. But at that point, you just start the mission over and reset the RNG.
Yeah, if the AI bugs out, yeah, it's a bit messy.
This is something that Zan, I think everyone here has dealt with this on occasion. There's a dividing line between people who will take a given game on its terms, rather than, and then you have some people who will try and force terms upon a game that it is, even if it is not interested in doing that.
Oh yeah,
yes.
Like the second boss.
And it's a case of with AC6, I saw a lot of grogs trying to force older tactics instead of realizing the age-old phrase, "When in Rome, you do as the Romans do."
Yeah, it's definitely an adjustment, because in a lot of the older games, the solution would be just strafe around it and plink it and keep dodging. And in AC6, the best tactic is assault boost at it and hit it as hard as you can.
Mm-hmm.
The best tactic in most situations in AC6 is balls to the wall, kill everything. Or, my favorite thing, boost in with the two most overpowered shotguns, blam! Oh, you're dead.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm up against an enemy AC, boost in with the two most overpowered shotguns, blam! Switch to pile bunker, charge up, bam! Oh, you're dead? Sorry.
Yeah.
Balteus? What's a Balteus?
Mm-hmm. I'd like to point out...
Laser and missile spams? I don't know what that is.
I'd like to point out my amusement in the fact that we have 4 games...
Zimmy-chan, I kneel.
In the S category. So we have our 4 pillars of heaven, as it were.
Yes. And yes, Wizard, defeating Balteus pre-patch does mean something, because Balteus pre-patch could be really dickish with how his missiles homed and how often he used his missiles.
Yeah. It was kind of rough.
I played the whole game pre-patch.
Yeah, I mean...
I don't know if I played the whole game pre-patch. I probably did.
I'm just sad that now post-patch, my shotguns are not as powerful anymore.
Yeah, well, listen, I understand.
They keep nerfing shit. And it's like, okay, I understand you nerf shit for the PvP, but give me a separate patch for PvE where I have all of my weapons at default, you fucks.
Well, they wanted you to use different weapons.
You know what? I don't want to. I like my shotgun pile bunker strategy. It is the best strategy. It is the only strategy. I might put in an assault boost kick as well, just for extra fuck you and spite on top.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to that sort of patching, I said this about the whole Helldivers 2 situation where they took a what was a darling and killed it with the aggressive patching, because they were patching they were playing like they were doing a PvP game.
Right.
I think the easy solution with this sort of thing is honestly using the regulation system that's been used in past generations and having different regulations for PvP and PvE.
Yeah, I think just having separate numbers would solve a lot of this, because what players want out of a PvP environment versus a PvE is a bit different. Mm-hmm. And that way they can kind of
you can see this in most MMOs these days. Most MMOs are not doing open world PvP as much as they did 20 years ago. Instead, you're seeing PvP as in this sequestered arena with its own exclusive options. FF14, and even WoW have kind of dipped into that approach. And Guild Wars 2 does it as well.
They're completely different beasts, and they play in completely different ways. Just by the nature of you are fighting a person on the other end who's not a robot, following a script.
Yeah. There's also the fact that a good amount of people who play MMOs have no interest in PvP content.
Yeah.
They'll still do group content, but they'll do like PvE stuff. Now, as a bit of a follow-up, and I did bring up this list to you, Nami, a few years back, but I'd like to revisit an old list of overpowered weapons throughout the series, though this was done before 6. And I'm just going to list off some of the entries, where they were from, what regulation in some cases, and you can tell me if you guys consider these overpowered or not.
Right.
So the first one is the Maw DSL/Finn from Armored Core 3 and Silent Line.
I'm trying to. To be completely honest, I'm not sure. I remember that thing being pretty strong.
It was a spread laser that it had a small target window and would eat up ammo, but it was a very good arena killer, because you're dealing with like 6 shots per shot.
Right. I guess for arena it would be strong, but for like a normal mission, probably not.
Because you only have 180 shots, and
Yeah.
you're doing it 2 arms. You're taking 6 shots each time, so it's really eating up ammo.
Yeah.
So
For arena it's good, but for like a regular mission, you're probably better off going for something with more ammo.
Yeah. The next one is the MWG RF-220, also from Armored Core 3 and Silent Line. That was a rifle, didn't have nearly the same amount of rate of fire as the previous entry.
I would say it's solid. I wouldn't know if I would say it's like OP per se or anything like that. I use this thing a bunch because it is just good damage, good fire rate, fine,
and a good amount of ammo. Its ammo is 220.
Yeah, it's very reliable.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say that.
But the next one was the CR-WH01HP from Last Raven. A fucking revolver for a mech.
Look, I love the concept of revolver for a mech. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's a little ridiculous, but I mean, you know.
So the idea of mechs is ridiculous.
Yeah,
It's true.
Okay, technically speaking, it's treated as a bazooka, but
what, the CR-WH01HP?
Yeah.
No, it's treated as a handgun. It says type handgun. But the note says it's a storable handgun. So first of all, you can put it in your mobile core. And second of all, with firepower equivalent to that of a rifle.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, 360, which is pretty fucking good for. I don't know if I ever really use this thing. I'm gonna be honest. Handguns in Armored Core games aren't usually particularly great, so I probably just glanced over this thing.
Yeah, they get over. It's something that gets overlooked in favor of the big, sexy rifles.
Yes.
Well, a lot of times they don't perform well, so you're like, why even bother? So you see another one, and you're like, why do I want another handgun? Like, what the hell's the point of this? But
because it's a handgun that because it's lighter and still does fucking rifle level damage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
when you have so many weapons to look over, I think I just skimmed over it, to be honest. I do see it's an unlock, but I'm pretty sure I got this thing.
It's an unlock in S rank, the mission destroy transport train, and for the left arm, kill Leandro in warp time as the 26th in the arena.
Okay.
But then there's and once again we're returning to Armored Core 3, noticing a pattern here. MWG-MG 1000 from 3 and Silent Line.
It's a right arm part, just so you know. It's a machine gun.
machine gun with 1,000 bullets.
Yep.
This is another.
And
I look at this one as another one of those not great for missions, but great for arena.
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Sorry,
it's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
which one was it?
MWG-MG/1000.
Oh, okay. I think I know what that says. Yeah, I loved this thing. I use this thing in missions. This was like my main weapon in 3.
Yeah, I mean, does it eat through ammo? Yeah, but nowhere
Okay,
near as big as. It's not big of an ammo chooser as the Maw DSL.
My favorite playstyle in like particularly Gen 3, I feel, is just a fast mech with an SMG.
Mhm.
Like just close range, spraying shit down, moving so fast the AI can't track you. It's really fun.
Oh, SMGs are always great in shooters,
Mhm.
with rare exceptions. And I've mentioned this elsewhere, but I have a bit of a measuring method. If a shooter has a shit shotgun, it's probably not a good shooter.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
And I know someone would say, does that mean that Doom 3 isn't a good shooter? Yes.
It's a good horror game, though.
I can go either way on that. But next is the CRWH79M2 from Nexus and Last Raven.
What was it?
CR-WH79M2. Which is described
It
as
is.
a machine gun with attack power and heat comparable to a rifle.
And you can just buy them from the shop.
Mhm.
Oh, this
Um,
thing.
I mean, it only has 160 ammo, but its weapon power is 240.
Yeah, if you
Yeah,
if
it's
you
really
want
strong.
You remember that one mech I was doing in Mecha Break that was basically all the DACA? And then
Mhm.
occasionally a howitzer?
The Trachera.
Yeah, the Trachera. This is doing two of those is the ancestor to the Trachera. But
Yeah, this thing I remember being pretty ridiculously strong. Some of these weapons are prohibitive just by ammo price alone, though, because it adds up really fast.
Yeah. Some of them are not worth the ammo price.
Like that's the reason I didn't use a lot of these like weapons that might be considered like OP. Is usually it's like, oh yeah, it'll like delete anything you look at. It'll also delete your bank account.
yeah.
Ammo price for this thing is 10 though. It's cheap as fuck.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's at most if you use all your shots on both arm weapons, you're only paying 3,200.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing. It's a pittance.
Maybe I'm also stingy. I don't know. It is cheaper than like the rockets and stuff. I'll admit.
Mhm. But
Ammo prices make me laugh, especially in AC6 when ammo. It's like, oh, you spent this much ammo. Oh, you killed this many things. Well, that ammo budget is covered and then some.
It depends. It depends on the mission in the games because some of the games are really stingy on how much they give you for missions. And like, I'm gonna be honest, there have been times where I brought in like, chain guns in a mission and ended up with like a negative deficit afterwards, like just losing money.
mhm.
It really depends on the game. 6, yeah, it's a joke in 6. Like
Yeah.
the economy in 6 is kind of just silly.
But then, moving into Armored Core 4, we have the HLC-02 Sirius, specifically its Regulation 1.0 version.
HLCO2 Sirius Regulation 1.0 version.
Yep.
High laser cannon costs 500,000 credits.
Oh yeah, this
Attack
thing.
power of 16,007.
Mm-hmm.
EN cost of 1,200.
And it is it's a back laser weapon that is a delete button.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I use this thing a lot in 4. Not really realizing it was supposedly OP, but it was just like it's one of the earlier weapons I think you can get. Could be wrong on that, but I remember getting it kind of early and just being like, "Oh man, this thing deletes everything. I'm gonna not stop using it." It carried me through that game, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Ali.
Especially if you put 2 of them on your back.
Yeah, there are some missions where cheesing it is just put a second one on.
Mm-hmm. But then we have the Saline 05 Regulation 1 from For Answer.
The what?
Saline 05.
Yeah. I don't think we need to say anything else, Monk.
I feel like the further regulations were to intentionally try and kill that particular missile.
Red missiles that track deceptively well and fast. They can do massive damage, but are easily outran. That last part's a fucking lie.
Yes.
They were not very honest with that.
Yeah, well,
They
and
easily outran only if you saw them fired and are already out of fucking range.
I played For Answer like without patches because I honestly didn't know how to patch on the emulator, and I played it without it, and then I found out this thing was like absolutely busted on relaunch.
Mm-hmm.
And man, that white glint fight it's painful. It's really, really painful. It is like day and night once he gets nerfed a little bit.
Yeah, and admittedly, eventually the way my approach to dealing with White Glint was, if you can't beat him, copy him, and just try to copy his entire setup. You use White Glint to fight White Glint.
Yeah.
But then there is from all the way from Armored Core 2, the EAW 5604. Sorry, S604.
Of course you'd bring up this fucking thing.
Oh yeah.
A small missile pod that only has 80 shots, but Jesus Christ.
No, Monk. You're forgetting that in another age it was buffed.
Really?
Oh, yeah,
Reload time was shortened from 41 to 34, and ammo heat increased from 145 to 148. It was buffed in another age.
And yes, this is another one of those, you mainly are going to use it to clear the arena kind of things.
Yeah. I remember this thing being
from the very
really
beginning
good.
of the game.
Which is the fact that you can get it so easily and it's that ridiculous, I think adds to the busted ass nature. But I know Wizard brought up the WA finger. That's actually the next one on my list. The WA finger is busted. But you get it near the tail end of the game.
It's the only thing I really used it for, killing Stinger.
It is
well, and in Phantasma it's busted. In Master of Arena, it's reasonable.
Yeah, it's reasonable because it's like, yeah, it does. It's so I think for Remember 8 they reduced the damage. I could be wrong on that, but I know they reduced the ammo count.
Yes.
Yeah, because the
WA
ammo
finger
count
in
in Phantasma was 6,000.
3,000.
Oh yeah, 3,000 normally, 6,000 if you add a little extra.
Yeah.
Especially those ammo back weapons.
Yeah. The Phantasma in Phantasma it had an attack power of 250 and 3,000 ammo. In Master of Arena, it had an attack power of 155 and 500 ammo.
Mm-hmm.
It was much more reasonable.
Yeah, it's like actually, it's like kind of cheesy in Master Arena because you're going to run out of ammo really fast, but you will delete whatever it's pointed at for the most part.
So once
so
again, great for arena fights where you're going to be one-on-one.
Yeah, I mean, and using it in the arena in Master Arena,
Elite.
you can very easily just miss by not being at the right range, pretty much. So it's not OP in there anymore, which I think is honestly the right decision because in Phantasma, I don't know what they were thinking, other than making it kind of like a gimmicky like reward weapon for beating the arena.
Mm-hmm. And of course, the last on the list is the original Karasawa.
No.
The original?
The WG1 Karasawa in the original Armored Core.
Broken. Absolutely broken.
As I said.
No.
What do you mean, no?
No.
What do you
It
mean?
can take down.
No.
It can take down almost everything within a few shots of the original game.
No. There is a reason the Karasawa is busted in the original Armored Core. It's not its damage, it's the fact that that thing is nearly automatic fire if you can pull the triggers fast enough.
Oh, that's sick.
And yes, it's using energy instead of ammo, but if you know what you're doing, that is not going to be an issue at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it does use ammo still, if I remember right.
Ammo price is 0.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's using the energy that you'd be using for jumping around and shit. But
it does have like limited ammo, but
You don't need. It has 50. That will kill everything in the map and then some.
it is a delete button.
Balit.
And obviously it's made appearances in the years since, but it's never been as ridiculous.
Balit.
If anything, it's been kind of a, I guess, a workhorse weapon in the years since. Not an overpowered monster, just a reliable thing. And I think, Nami, when you were going through AC and the ACs in preparation for 6, when you were going through the PS1 games, I ended up sending you a picture of the Karasawa and saying, "This thing is your friend.
Yeah,
You will love
exactly.
this thing."
And it does carry you through. Like, I played those games kind of with my own particular style, but there were times where I just said, you know what, fuck it, I don't want to do this mission. It's too hard. Put the Karasawa on.
What the fuck is that, Jay?
what's what?
What you put?
Oh, that's Zimmy-chan.
Oh my god, it is.
Yeah. That became a joke after a while. Like very early on, they just started calling the 2 shotguns Zimmy-chan.
Where are you posting this?
GeekWatch.
Oh boy. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
These are the best shotguns in 6.
Yeah.
And then they got nerfed, and I'm very upset.
Yeah.
If I recall correctly, wasn't there a mod that was made to try and unnerf them?
Not a mod. You can literally just go in and replace the regulation file with earlier regulation files.
Yeah,
You just can't play online at that point.
Someone started using the stun guns in PvP after the shotguns got nerfed.
It kind of went. Yeah, they started using the Vientos in PvP, which they also got nerfed. I haven't tried them in PvE anymore. They were ridiculous. Like their stagger was absolutely insane. You only really need lightweight would get staggered by them in like 5 shots or 6 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And you could spam those things out.
So
What you're talking about is the SGO-27 Zimmerman. The shotguns that look like they have skis on the front because it's a small shield against gunfire.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was extra weight to use it as a bludgeoning tool, but
I don't know if it actually blocked shots, but
It did.
It did? What?
I'm pretty sure that if a shot hit that part of the Zimmerman, you wouldn't take damage.
how did you guys come into your own in AC? I basically learned using the guides from a master in GameFAQs called Vesperis.
my answer to that is very simple. You know how to get into Carnegie Hall, right?
yeah, I just kind of hit my head on it really hard.
Yeah.
Also, I replayed them all recently, so relearning the games was just bashing my head against it.
The way I got into Armored Core was I had a PlayStation 1, and there were not a lot of Robity games on PlayStation 1.
True.
When I was looking around, and I wanted a Robity game, and I saw Armored Core, so I got the Robity game, and
That
I
was-
loved it.
That was the same thing for me.
Yeah. But I will say that when it comes to the endless dumbass debate between spiky and stompy mechs, I think there is room for both, but you have to design with what you're going for in mind.
Right.
If you're trying to build a game that's going to be about mobility, don't try and have controls that are going to be leaning towards slower mechs.
Right.
It's that case of what we've talked about for the longest time of having a certain goal and building everything around that goal.
Yeah, it's being intentional with your design, and I think picking a sort of type of mech or a genre of mech, like however you want to put that, that you're going to cater to, because not everyone's going to like every variant in there. There are mechs that are in between. There are big mechs, there are small mechs, there are fast mechs, there are slow ones, and I feel like it's just about catering to one particular angle and really digging into that and not trying to do everything at the same time.
It's kind of funny how MechWarrior is on the slower side when most of the design inspiration comes from Macross, which is like faster real robots.
Yeah.
And that's why I've said that the whole slow mech thing is more of a Western thing. But obviously there's exceptions. I mean, Ring of Red is quite literally tanks with legs, because you have a whole tank crew managing the mechs in that game.
Big O was pretty slow too.
Yeah, and Jay, I talked about this a few years ago when we did an episode just dedicated to Toonami.
Yeah.
It's kind of amusing how Big O and some other anime were able to get a second chance at life in the States compared to in Japan. Because Big O in Japan tanked.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
It did not go over well, and the sole reason that it got the follow-up season was partially because Cartoon Network was footing half the bill.
And over here we love Batman the Animated Series. And clearly the Sunrise loved Batman the Animated Series when they worked on it, so
there was also the fact that it wasn't the only case of this. I talked about how Cowboy Bebop had a very rough time in Japan and almost got canceled.
Really? I didn't know that.
Because it was really pissing off the censors at the time.
Oh, that makes sense.
As much of a beloved classic as Gundam Wing is treated here in the States, over in Japan it was seen as meh at the time.
Yeah. And that's because of the fact that the guy who wrote and worked on Gundam Wing hadn't done anything that wasn't romance stuff before.
Mm-hmm. Which I'm not good. When in the pick a side nonsense, I'm not picking a side on that, because I enjoy it, but I can also understand why there was that perception. It's more of a fascinating case of contrast. And the funny thing is that even MechWarrior over the years has not been as slow as some people romanticize it as. Especially 5 is a hell of a lot faster than 2 or 3 were.
Yeah.
MechWarrior 4 is a complicated situation. There was a lot of bullshit that happened around that time. I'll phrase it that way because there's been a lot better breakdowns about the MechWarrior 4 era. But obviously Mech Assault was a full-on arcadey style approach because it was built for the Xbox, and doing the stuff that was done in 2 and 3 on the original Xbox would have been a disaster. I know some people will say, well, what about Steel Battalion? That's a special case. But
yeah.
5 feels much more faster than previous entries. Online, I'd say is still relatively slow unless you're playing a scout. and even more so unless you're playing the Flea, who has shit weapons because all he has is like all he has is just like a small laser. But if he's on the move, good luck trying to hit him.
This is why you get really good lock-on missiles.
Yeah.
Even then, somebody who's playing a Flea in MWO who knows what they're doing, you are not hitting him because most mechs are going like 80 kph and he's going like 160. So you better know how to either get some good missiles or lead your shots. But
both. Por qué no los dos?
Yeah, Red Wizard says there's a lot of Gundam fans with an unhealthy obsession with the UC Gundam shows. That's just another form of grognardism. It's no different than the Gen 1ers in Pokemon or the OSR Broisr bullshit in the world's most litigious role-playing game. Or
I mean,
any number of grognardisms that we've lambasted.
I would be one of those people, but I don't like have a dislike of other
Then you can
Gundam shows.
Then you disqualify from being a grog.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
The defining feature is that grogs will over-romanticize one particular thing that they have a long history with, and treat everything that isn't that with a degree of disdain or putting it up against an unreasonable pedestal.
Right. Because I also love G Gundam.
Mm-hmm.
G Gundam is the best Gundam.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
also the reason
it's
why
sick.
we've had the policy of games, not names, and that applies just
Yeah.
as much to anime. Everything gets its fair day in court, and with as neutral of a look as can be done. And that's
The only one
also,
I'll actively shit on is Seed.
that's
A lot of people shit on Seed, and in some cases it's deserved, in others it's really not.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the shitting on it is something done in a
It's contextual.
in a very contextual manner.
Right. I just didn't like the animation style.
And that one figures because they were doing a lot of transition to Digipaint and some
They
experimental
abused the
CG.
shit out of motion tween.
Well,
Mhm.
the early 2000s were a transitional period for anime. A lot
Yeah.
of studios were shifting over to Digipaint, and not everybody was able to quite grasp the change in style.
Mm-hmm.
The change in medium, I should say.
See, I don't shit on Seed. I shit on Seed Destiny, and that's
See
just
Destiny. Well, yeah. See Destiny. I heard nobody likes.
Even the people who like Seed will not defend Seed Destiny.
Yeah. Ultraman Nexus got canceled for Seed Destiny.
That is a bad trade. But then
Yeah.
you got the Seed Freedom movie, and that's a really good movie.
Mhm.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's the more recent one that came out this year. Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
Something I've talked about in the past is that Japan really, really loves anniversary specials in for shows in multiples of 5.
The Fi's anniversary special was sick. It was nuts.
Yeah.
Kamen
Also,
Rider Fi's.
did you, Jay? Did you celebrate a certain holiday on the 13th?
I didn't.
Because you know what September 13th is, right?
Well, aside from Friday the 13th, no.
It's Kaisa Day.
Oh my God! Shit! I completely forgot.
Yeah,
913.
September 13th. No matter what day of the week it's on, is Kaisa Day.
And he always does something
Yeah.
for Kai's Day.
Well,
No,
his actor is kind of settled into this elder brother role for both his colleagues at the time, and even future writers. He'll be showing up on set just to help out.
All right, here's how you be a real piece of shit like me.
I don't know if he gave his approval to Guy's actor, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Oh.
Reminder, Zadari Enterprises bought out Zai Enterprises, and Amatsu Guy is my personal gopher.
But to wrap things up, the way we had graded it was S rank. We have 2 Another Age, Last Raven, 4 Answer, and Fires of Rubicon.
Oh, you gave Another Age S?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Well, no, it's because it took everything two did and made it mechanically better. And while the story wasn't a big story like 2 was, it was a
Right.
day in the life of a merc. It's basically
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, I see what you mean.
A rank was the ones we gave to A rank were Master of Arena, Armored Core 2, and Armored Core 4.
Yep.
Because
Yeah.
they're good, but there's a few things that hold them back from going into straight S.
Yeah.
For B rank, we gave it to the original Armored Core, Silent Line, and Ninebreaker.
Yep.
The original because it's kind of the baseline, so it's kind of warranted. Last Raven, not Last Raven, but Silent Line got B because as much as I like certain aspects, it's too damn hard in places. I brought up the original Descent in comparison, which that's not a compliment. And
Right.
Ninebreaker is doing exactly what it says on the tin and not much else.
Yeah. Ninebreaker is you want more Armored Core 2 3. Armored Core, you want more Armored Core 3 mechanics and fighting, and that's all you want? Here you go. Game that is just that.
Yeah.
It's not canon. It's not canon to 3.
It's
Silent
not canon,
Line.
period. It's much
Yeah.
like Formula Front. Speaking of which, for C, we gave that to Project Phantasma, Armored Core 3, Formula Front, and 5 Verdict Day.
Right.
Because these are ones that are alright, but have some significant problems in one form or another.
Or with Formula Front, it's just really weirdly different.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of weird. And D, the bottom, we gave to Nexus and 5.
Yep.
Was Nexus the one where they started doing analog controls? Or was
I don't know if
Silent
it's the one where they started.
or was it
Nexus-
Silent Line?
It was probably Silent Line.
Mhm.
Well, actually, it was probably 2, because 2 was a PS2 game.
No, 2 didn't
no,
have
no.
analog controls. It took them. I think it was like the one after 3.
Silent Line.
That was Silent Line.
Okay, then I think Silent Line did analog controls.
Yeah.
Nexus
But-
was the first to use FPS style dual analog control.
Oh,
But
never
the-
mind. Nexus.
Yeah.
Nexus was also the one that fucked everything.
Oh well.
They were trying some stuff. They were messing around.
Yes, let's make heat management so unbearable you can't do anything fun.
Well, I guess they're like, well, we have analog controls. We open things up. We gotta make sure we can't let people get too crazy, you know.
Well, no, then you
guys
get Last
want-
Raven, which we've all acknowledged is harder than Nexus, and yet it got an S because it's just that fucking good.
Right.
Mhm. And now, is there the possibility that there'll be some follow up to 6 down the road? Maybe, but the thing with
there's some,
huh?
There's some hope. They're apparently hiring for more Armored Core projects.
Mm-hmm. So it could be. If I'm being honest, I wouldn't want to see a whole game called Armored Core 6 and then with a different subtitle. I would rather it just be some sort of DLC.
I hope if they do, I hope they call it Armored Core Victory because of the VI at the start.
I doubt that because I'm pretty sure if they called it that, people would end up thinking of Victory Gundam and getting PTSD.
Yes, the Gundam show where they tried to brainwash all of Earth.
I'm
Fucking new type magic.
I hope if they do that, then I hope that there's motorcycles.
Card games on motorcycles.
No, Gundams on motorcycles. Because one of the producers, much to Tamino's chagrin, really loved motorcycles and was like,
I know. And
you
he made
gotta-
all the fucking motorcycle robots.
you gotta
Yes, I
put
know.
motorcycles in it.
You know, the battleships are motorcycles too.
Yeah, and then Tamino's like, all right, you know what? Fuck you. Here, they're riding off on a motorcycle into hell. Because I killed them. And I'll if you keep it up, everyone's gonna get a motorcycle to hell.
So here's the thing. If they make an Armored Core 7 in the near future, I want it to be Armored Core 7 Raven Unknown.
That'd be cool.
Why that title particularly?
Monk.
Yes.
Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon. Armored Core 7 Raven Unknown.
Oh, Skies Unknown, yeah.
Oh,
Let's continue the confusion, people!
Continue.
Make it so when somebody says AC7 something...
Well, here's the problem. Not many people can play AC6.
I love
At the
AC6.
moment. Yeah, but it's only on the 360. So
I mean...
it is backwards compatible for Xbox One though.
No, let's be nice there.
I'm not being mean.
I mean,
That's my biggest criticism is it's only available on the 360 and one.
No, if I wanted to really troll AC fans,
Mm-hmm.
I would call the Armored Core 7 I'd say something along the lines of
Well, apparently there are
Artificial Horizon.
Oh. Apparently, Xenia, you can acquire if you can get Ace Combat 6 through nefarious means. You can probably play it on Xenia.
I want to note that here in the temple I do not do the hand wringing regarding if people sail the high seas. My attitude is I don't care how you get to the dance as long as you're at the dance.
True.
That
I agree with you, but I don't.
The policy since day one. But
True, but I don't know what Twitch rules are. You know.
We're not actually saying it.
Yeah.
So, when
if you can get a legally acquired copy of Ace Combat 6 and...
But, plus, I'm pretty sure there's people on Twitch using emulators.
No, there is.
Of course.
Yeah. But
yeah, like if that's the best way to stream PS3 games is emulating it because it's so like Sony made it next to impossible to capture footage on the PS3 with HDMI.
Mm-hmm. But with that said, I think we lost Zan for a moment. Don't worry, he'll be back. He'll be back in a few. I'm certain there might have been some technical issues. It shows him as offline. But
yeah, maybe his internet just went out.
That's a distinct possibility. But that being said, as mentioned, I will end up posting the final tier list shortly.
Oh, he's back.
Oh, welcome back. Do you have a tech issue? Zan? Zan, you alive? Press a button if you're alive, Zan.
1 beep for yes and 2 beeps for no.
He probably got up or something.
Possibly. Also, I see that our friend Monarch has decided he wants to cosplay Roger from Big O in the future. Oh, we got a response. I don't know. Maybe his setup reset. I've had that happen when USB
Oh.
port stopped working for no reason.
I've actually had that happen. I had that happen like a week or two ago. Randomly, all of my USB ports stopped working, and I haven't had it happen since, and I have not been able to figure out what happened.
Mhm. Yeah, as we like to say, technology, it likes to give us the middle finger.
Yeah, some people just have the negative computer aura where anytime they're near a computer, things go wrong.
We call those people gremlins.
I'm like cursed with bad luck when it comes to PCs, and like I know usually people will kind of blame like, oh, you don't know what you're doing, or you don't know like how to like. I know what I'm doing for the most part. There's certain things I don't, but I just seem to have like horrible luck. I don't know how many times I've had to like return a part to a manufacturer because I got it and it was a dud on arrival. Like several times. A PSU, a Mobo. I had a Mobo that like melted within the first week of me having it, and they sent a replacement. But like it took like 4 months, I think, to like send it for them to get it back. Whole 9 yards. Horrible luck.
Yeah,
Don't know why.
it's for this reason that if I can get a part from a local spot, I will do that, because I would rather drive a few miles than go through the hell of shipping. It's also the reason why I can't. When it comes to clothes shopping, as much as I hate it because of my size, I would rather go into an actual store than order online.
Yeah.
Mostly because I've had cases where something says it's the right size, but it's the right size in like UK size formats, not US, which is operating on a different metric, so it ends up not fitting. And whenever I say this kind of thing, somebody's like, "Well, maybe you'd have an easier time if you lost some weight." I did. Losing weight isn't going to make me shorter.
That's true.
I was gonna say, you're tall as shit.
Yep. And he's
I
back.
don't know, the excess USB port that is connected to my keyboard just stopped working altogether all of a sudden.
Hopefully you can. Well, you can just. It appears you can still type, unless you were sending that message earlier on the phone version.
No, the Corsair K95 has 2 cables, one for 2 USB cables, one for its power and its data, and one for the USB port that's on the back of it.
Mm-hmm.
The USB port that I was using on the back of it, I was using for the wireless adapter that I'm currently using, and then that port stopped detecting altogether to Windows for no reason.
Strange.
I'm pretty sure you're counting down the days until that PCIe thing comes in.
Yes.
But with all that said, I think that is going to be where we will wrap up this particular episode of GeekWatch. Now, I will note that that I'm going to be doing a bit of a double feature tomorrow, because tomorrow morning I'm going to be talking with George Hobmeyer on his revised version of a previous project, as well as the folks at Rusty Portal.
Hell yeah.
On Tuesday, I'll be talking with Jason Keach, because he put out a second edition of his SCP RPG.
Ooh.
I am doing a double feature on Wednesday, because I'll be talking with Top Knots International, so that's one more group I can add to the Italian dev list about their game Gates of Crystalia. And that same day I'll be talking with Saito, because he recently put up a updated version of his game Voyager Tactics. Obviously Thursday and Friday is Valley of the Judged, where coincidentally both weeks are going to be talking about power systems. The dynamism in Hellas and the Karmistry powers in Flux Destiny. On Saturday, we will finally be returning, hopefully, to the Cloister of the Dice with the Robotech campaign. And on Sunday, of course, will be the return of GeekWatch. And of course, later tonight and Tuesday and Thursday, I will be doing the game streams. I think I'm going to finish up Gestalt later tonight. So if any of you are still up around 9 Central, feel free to stop by and enjoy some of the chaos. Rabbit didn't care. Not Rabbit. Alm these days didn't care for Gaston because he didn't care for the writing. I've had some issues with the way the writing is presented, but I'll get to that when I finish the game. But for what I paid for, it's a pretty good Metroidvania. Although it's definitely one that leans more on the Vania than the Metroid. And I'm always going to be a sucker for steampunk fantasy.
Right.
I mentioned my deep love for Wild Arms for a reason. But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra, I am your gaming monk, and join the watch.
내 내 조심히